Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. You're watching News First, where the people come first. I'm Shehan Ranatunga. Now, today is a historic day. Today is a day that showcased the importance of the people's power. But the barbarianism of the Sri Lanka police was displayed today when 6 of our colleagues from Newsfirst were brutally and inhumanely attacked. Now, we'll have more details on that right after your headlines.
Hundreds of thousands of ordinary Sri Lankans flood Colombo and occupy President's house and office. Protests against President and Prime Minister. Tense scenes at Carlton House and President's House in Kandy. Party leaders want President and Prime Minister to resign. Prime Minister says willing to step down.
Good evening. Today is a dark day for media freedom, a blow to the freedom of expression and the right to information. This evening, a tense situation took place opposite the Prime Minister's private residence in Colombo. Now, News First, as a responsible media organization, has been covering the protests since day one. Now, during this event today, when the tense situation erupted, 6 of our journalists, initially four of our journalists who were covering the event, covering the protests, bringing information to the people, were brutally and inhumanely attacked by the police special task force personnel who were stationed there. These 4 journalists, I would like to name them: Sarasi Piris from our Sirasa TV Sinhala News Division, Judin Sindhujan, one of our Tamil news presenters, Janitha Mendis, one of our social media content creators, and Varuna Sampath, one of our best cameramen. They were brutally put down and beaten by the police special task force personnel who were present at that site when the tense situation was taking place opposite the Prime Minister's private residence in Colombo. Now, if you were watching our 7 p.m. news bulletin, you would have seen live footage of this heinous and barbaric attack on journalists and media freedom. At the same time, when we rushed to the scene to help our brothers, 2 more of our journalists were brutally attacked. One of them is Kalimuthu Chandan. One of his arms was severely beaten, and the other is Chanaka Virakon. Our Newsfirst journalists are currently being treated in hospital. Sarasi Piris, just in her early 20s, a journalist who was the first to enter the President's house this morning when it was breached by protesters and show images for the first time via the eyes of a journalist, was attacked, and she had to undergo 2 stitches on the back of her head. Our cameraman Varuna Sampath was put down. Janitha Mendis, our social media content creator, was put down and beaten inhumanely. And if you looked close at the images, you would notice that the STF officers were directed by one person. That is SSP Romesh Liyanage of the Police Special Task Force. Now, SSP Romesh Liyanage gave the order to his officers to attack our journalists who were there. A barbaric attack on our journalists in Colombo. If you look at the images once again of this attack on our journalists, you would notice how barbaric this attack was, how brutal this attack was. And on your screens right now, you can see Kalimuthu Chandan in pain, trying to get into that wheelchair because he was brutally beaten when he went to help his fellow journalists who were being attacked. Now, SSP Romesh Liyanage, obviously you would have gotten your orders from the top. That means the top-ranking officials of Sri Lanka Police are responsible for what took place today. We will not let go of this lightly. We will take legal action. We will seek relief from the courts, from the topmost courts of this country, because media freedom is something that you cannot meddle with, because the people have a right to know. You messed with the people's voice, a voice that represents the people, highlighting their issues and grievances to the entire nation and the entire world. Now, just after this attack, police spokesperson SSP Nihal Thaldua spoke to the media and also issued a statement where he said that this act was condemned and the SSP in question was being transferred and the disciplinary inquiry will be taken. Now, after that, we spoke to DIG Varuna Jayasundara, who is the commandant of the Special Task Force. And now this is what he had to say.
I received a complaint regarding an attack on a group of journalists from the Sirasa Media Network at the 5th Lane. I immediately took steps to remove the Senior Superintendent of Police who was on duty at the location and assigned SSP Kalum Gunatunga for duty at the location. I will take strict disciplinary action against this incident.
That was the commandant of the Police Special Task Force, Senior DIG Varuna Jayasundara. Now we have our own Mr. Shivan Daniel, the Executive Group Director of the Sirasa Media Network, who along with our fellow journalists rushed to the hospital to inquire into the well-being of our attacked journalist. Shivan?
As they were covering incidents in front of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe's home, this included one 21-year-old female reporter, Sarasi, Janita Mendis, who's our social media manager, Varuna Sampath, one of our most experienced cameramen who, together with the rest of the team, were covering incidents and reporting incidents throughout the entire day. And Sinthujan, who's our reporter for Shakti TV, they were all brutally beaten up. They needed emergency treatment. They're receiving emergency treatment right now at the National Hospital Emergency Services Unit. And it was just truly heartbreaking to see these young men and women having to be rushed to hospital and treated for simply doing their job. And many of you who watched Sirasa News at 7 would have seen the incident live, because even we didn't expect it. They were simply doing their job, reporting on the goings-on in front of Prime Minister Wickremesinghe's home. The security officials were protecting the Prime Minister's home, and our reporters were simply covering what was going on there like they've been doing the entire day, and then they were basically brutally beaten up. And we will absolutely track down and find every single one of those cowards who beat defenseless reporters and bring them to task by the rule of law. Justice will be served. They were unarmed reporters doing their job. They had phones and cameras in their hands, not weapons, and they were reporting for the people against a regime that the people consider to be repressive, against a prime minister and a president who they consider to be repressive and against the people and have oppressed the people. These are the 4 young Sri Lankans who were beaten up for doing their job, and we will ensure that justice is meted out for them as soon as we take care of their health and make sure that they're okay. We will ensure that they that the law is brought upon those who committed this heinous crime against 4 young Sri Lankan reporters.
Thank you, Shivan, and we understand the pain that Shivan is in right now because our own journalists were attacked, and that's right, we will not let this go. We will not let this go. We will take action. We will find out every single person responsible for the attacks on our journalists, because freedom of expression, media freedom is enshrined in the Constitution, and it is a globally accepted practice to ensure media freedom. There's widespread condemnation on the attacks on these journalists, because let me remind you again that 6 of our journalists were attacked today. 6 journalists who were covering the protests, and 4 of them were initially attacked. They are Sarasi Piris, a singular news presenter, Judin Sindhujan, a Tamil language news presenter, Janita Mendis, one of our social media creators, and Varuna Sampath, one of our cameramen. And then we have Kalimuthu Chandran and Chandraku Veerakon, who were later attacked when they went to help their fellow journalists. Now, we will not let this go. we will follow the rule of law, and we will take necessary action against every single officer responsible for this heinous crime. Because we as journalists are unarmed. Our only tools are our pen and our cameras and our phones. We did not go to attack the police. We did not go to do anything else. Our journalists were there to do their job, that is to report and report back the information to the people, because the people have the right to know, and we will always stand with the people, and we will always uphold the rights of the people, because the people have a right to know, and that information will always come from Newsfirst, and we will not let this go, especially to SSP Gomesh Lianage, who has now been interdicted and has been replaced by SSP Callum Gunatunga. We will not let this go. To SSP Gomesh Lianage, well, what we have to say is, messing with the media is something not good, because you are messing with the voice of the people. The footage you are seeing right now on your television screens is the moment that our journalists were brutally attacked and inhumanely beaten by the police special task force personnel. You can see those officers all in Kevlar and riot shields attacking our journalists.
ඔබ මේ දකින්නේ න්‍යූස්ෆර්ස්ට් මාධ්‍යවේදියාට අග්‍රාමාත්‍ය කාර්යාලයේ ඉදිරිපිට
Main sponsor.
Earn a highest interest rate of 21% for 4 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru.
Sri Lanka party leaders have decided that both President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe must resign immediately.
Sri Lanka party leaders met at the Speaker's official residence this evening, and some joined via Zoom. Party leaders have echoed the call for the President and the Prime Minister to resign. Chief Opposition Whip Lakshman Kiriella told Newsfirst the party leaders decided that Speaker Mahinda Yapa should be the temporary President. Justice Minister Dr. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa told Newsfirst that following the appointment of a temporary President, Parliament must be summoned and an interim President must be appointed ahead of the calling for general elections. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe has told the party leaders that he is willing to resign as Prime Minister and make way for an all-party government to take over. The Prime Minister's office said he is taking this decision because island-wide fuel distribution is due to recommence this week. The World Food Programme Director is due to visit the country this week, and the debt sustainability report for the IMF is due to be finalized shortly.
Now, in a letter addressed to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Speaker of Parliament Mahinda Yapa set out the matters that were agreed upon at the all-party meeting that was held at the Speaker's official residence. Now, the following were agreed upon. The President and Prime Minister should resign with immediate effect. A decision to be taken to appoint an interim President by Parliament within the coming week. Once the interim President has been appointed, a Prime Minister to be appointed that would represent all political parties. They also agreed to call for parliamentary elections within a specified period of time. Now, it was also noted that the Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe had proposed 3 alternatives, which comprised of him being appointed as the interim President upon the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Thereafter, to appoint an all-party government under the leadership of a new Prime Minister. And thereafter, the President and Prime Minister will resign and an acting President is to be appointed within the Parliament and a Prime Minister to be appointed from within Parliament as well as with the agreement of all the parties.
I propose the President form an all-party government. Today the country is facing a fuel crisis and food shortage. The head of the World Food Programme will come to Sri Lanka. We are supposed to discuss important matters with him. We must appoint a new government when this government resigns. Running the country without a government would be wrong. When this government resigns, another government must take over.
As we said earlier today is a historic day. It showcased the importance of the people's power. Today is a day that will go down in history as proof that any power can be changed through a peaceful revolution. Now, going up against a president that has been granted powers beyond those enjoyed by J.R. Jayawardena when he became the executive president of the country in 1978, the people secured their power without having to pick up a stone or any weapon of any sort.
Today, the people of Sri Lanka converged on the commercial capital of the country with one objective. That was to pressurize President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to resign from office in the wake of having dragged the country into an economic abyss within a period of 3 years by having taken incorrect decisions and not taking timely decisions. The members of the public moved towards the President's house from Chatham Street and other roads without any party affiliations. The members of the public were obstructed on several occasions by the police and security forces with tear gas and water cannon. The public were, however, subsequently successful in removing the final obstacle to the president's house. A large security detail was deployed to the main entrance of the president's house. Members of the public were confronted by the security forces at this point. the members of the public successfully took control of the situation, while those injured in the incident were rushed to hospital. The president's house was
පසුව ජනාධිපති මන්දිරයේ ප්‍රධාන ගේට්ටුව විවර
Having entered the president's house, this is the manner in which the members celebrated.
නන්දගේ බූල් එකේ කොල්ල නානවා නන්දගේ බූල් එකේ කොල්ල නානවා
සුරකින්න ඕනේ අපි ඒ හින්දා මේක අවුරුදු 100ක් විතර පරණයි මේ උඩ අපි ඉන්න මේක එන ලී වලින් තියන්නේ කට්ටිය බහින්න අපි ජාතිය අමතලා කියන්න ඕනේ කෝටටයි රනිල්ටයි යන්න කියලා අපේ සල්ලේ
Military personnel were seen admired by the people.
Sri Lankans were injured in the ugly scenes that unfolded this morning near the president's house in Fort Colombo. A hospital spokesperson said that 3 people are in critical condition and one of them is being treated at the intensive care unit. 2 security forces personnel were also injured in the confrontations.
In the meantime, protesters convened a press conference at the president's house to make public their plans.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa needs to step down immediately. Ranil Wickremesinghe and the government should resign immediately. All cabinet and deputy cabinet ministers, secretaries to ministries, directors, advisors, chairmen of state departments and corporations should resign. The third point is that when Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Ranil Wickremesinghe's government resigns, a governance structure should be formed to carry forward the economic, social and political objectives of the people's struggle. A People's Council that would include the objectives of the struggle and would encompass the representatives of the struggle and other stakeholders should be formed. Immediate measures need to be taken to address the economic crisis. Additionally, measures need to be taken to address the gas shortage, the fuel shortage, educational requirements and health necessities.
පොදු ජනාධිකරණය නව ආකෘතියක් යටතේ ක්‍රියාත්මක වනු ඇත.
අපි කියනවා ගෝඨට ඉන්න තැනකින් එළියට බහලා බැලුවොත් හැම පාරක්ම වැහිලා රටේ ජනතා මතය.
All roads are covered with people from the country today. If Gotabaya Rajapaksa does not resign, we will move over to Temple Trees and then Parliament in search of him. At the same time, we are not saying that Gotabaya Rajapaksa should be removed for Ranil Wickremesinghe to creep into the president's seat. Ranil Wickremesinghe needs to step down as well with Gotabaya Rajapaksa. At the same time, we would like to establish to all political parties that we did not go through all that we went through for them to plunder from the public again. Therefore, an interim government embodying all the principles of the struggle needs to be established. The time has come for Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Ranil Wickremesinghe to write their letters of resignation.
වහාම ආරම්භ කරන්න ඕන. දැන් ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂගේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහගේ ලිපිය ලියන කාලය දැන් ආරම්භ වෙනවා.
Main sponsor.
Earn a highest interest rate of 21% for 4 months fixed deposits. LB Yasaisuru.
Now, the police fired several rounds of tear gas at ordinary Sri Lankans who had gathered at Gotagogama this morning.
Tear gas was fired as members of the public were making their way from the president's office to the president's house. Ordinary Sri Lankans from different parts of the country thereafter successfully entered the president's office. The public thereafter engaged in a protest at the president's office. While the majority of the public were engaged in a protest along Goldface Green, many others were also seen protesting along Janadipati Mawatha in front of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Today was the 92nd consecutive day of the Gotagogama protest that was launched demanding the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. While many members of the public had gathered at the Gotagogama protest site from this morning, parliamentarian Field Marshal Sarath Fonseca was also seen joining the protest during the day.
Protesters also proceeded to temple trees this evening.
Rajitha Senaratne, who entered the protest premises, had to go through a bitter experience this afternoon. Massive crowds have been protesting in Colombo throughout the day, demanding the resignation of President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. A large group, including clergy of all faiths, lawyers, artists and professionals, was seen at the Goldface protest site. Citizens from all parts of the country descended upon Colombo in the midst of road barriers, demanding one voice that the president must step down from office. Artists began a protest march from the Elphinstone Theatre in Maradana.
We have been tolerating this for so long, but it is getting worse day by day. We are all wasting our time. Our time is the most valuable thing. But because we want to see an end to this, which is why I have joined these other artists to protest peacefully.
අපි මාතර ඉඳලා එන්නේ මාතර රොයල්ස් ටීම් එකක්. අපි මේ කාලකන්ණි දුෂ්ට ආණ්ඩුව එලවා තමන් අපි මේ මාතර ඉඳලා එන්නේ නීතිඥ ප්‍රජාවම. අපි ඔයගොල්ලොත් එක්ක ඉන්නවා. ජය වේවා.
The Sri Lankan legal community marched from in front of the Halstop Court Complex to Colombo Fort. Lawyers later joined the protest along with Chatham Street activists. Meanwhile, the Federation of Colombo University Teachers Association marched in protest from in front of the Colombo University to the Goldface protest site. They demanded that the president resign from his office immediately. A police officer was seen supporting the protesters in Maharagama. People from different parts of the country came to Colombo this morning by marching and using private vehicles to extend their support to the people's protests.
Meanwhile, people protested in front of the Carlton House in Tangal this afternoon. The people gathered in front of the Kandy president's house also engaged in a protest. A heated situation arose this afternoon when a group of people who were at the Gota Gogama protest site in Kandy tried to enter the presidential house in Kandy.
Protests were carried out at Gota Gogama branches across the country today as well. Many people, including health trade unions and civil organizations, joined the Gota Gogama branch in Anuradhapura today. This was a situation at the Gota Gogama branch in Galle. People also joined the protest at the Mavanala Gota Gogama branch, demanding the resignation of the president and the government. The people who came to Gota Gogama in Kandy demanded the resignation of the president. Advanced offshore patrol vessels of the Sri Lanka Navy, SLNS Gajabahu and Sindhurala, reached the Colombo port today. Footage circulating on social media showed that the luggage of VIPs was being loaded onto the Navy vessels. A group of people engaged in a protest at the entrance of the Bandar Naik International Airport. According to our correspondent, the group inspected every vehicle travelling on the road.
News First with the people.
Let's now cross over for a short commercial break.
For the first time in Sri Lanka, EVA unveils an antibacterial layer to minimize microbial growth and control odour, helping you stay fresher throughout the day. EVA, leading with confidence.
Okay. Convening a media briefing this evening, the leaders of all faiths expressed the following.
There is no longer a president in this country by the name of Gotabaya Rajapaksa. He must resign if he still thinks that he is the president. Today, the members of the public converged around the president's house in search of this individual. They thereafter went to the president's office in search of this person. Why did the members of the public act in this manner? They wanted to convey this message to his face. The Senkarakala declaration was made yesterday. This is the last declaration that was made. This historical declaration was made on behalf of the public and the Sangha. If Gotabaya Rajapaksa still thinks he is the president, he should immediately declare that he is no longer the president from whichever military bunker or military camp that he is hiding in. To abscond from doing so would mean to put many more lives in danger. If he has an atom of intelligence, he would do this. As he himself declared and accepted in his own words, he is a family member that lacked intelligence the most. We should be ashamed of ourselves for having appointed a person of this level of intelligence to be the head of the country. We should truly be ashamed of. We appeal to Gotabaya Rajapaksa to now, at least if he has any form of intelligence, understand the fact that people have arisen and that he has no longer any power over the Sinhala Buddhist community of this country. With his resignation, the Speaker of Parliament and the Prime Minister are entrusted with the power under Article 27 of the Constitution to immediately convene Parliament and fill the vacancy that has been created. There is a responsibility to form an all-party government. The puppet by the name of Ranil Wickremesinghe should not be made president. Ranil Wickremesinghe should not be made president even for a second.
නෝන්ජල් පුජ්‍යලයා මේ රටේ ජනාධිපති පදවියට තප්පරයක්වත් පත් නොකළ යුතුයි. ජනාධිපති මන්දිරය අද ජනතාවත් පත් කරගෙන.
The public has taken over the president's house. The public has taken over the presidential secretariat. There is no place for the president to stay. There is no country for him to govern. The country is in the hands of its citizens. Therefore, we can state with certainty that we are victorious. We appeal to the public to stay calm and peaceful during this time of victory. We have rescued this country without having the need to reach for any weapon. Therefore, do not cause any harm to anyone. The President's house should be converted into a museum for future generations. This property should not be damaged in any way. As citizens of a new free country that is on its way to prosperity, it is my wish that we should start living in that mindset. We are asking for an interim government until the next election. The president of this interim government should be a person chosen from the people. We appeal to everyone not to cause damage or injury to any property or person. This victory was achieved in a peaceful manner. As the current Prime Minister does not have the people's favour to hold the post of president, he should immediately resign. We have achieved a new independence. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka is now advising us on how we should now proceed according to the Constitution. Let us move forward giving due respect to the Constitution. We appeal to those actively engaged in the protest not to resort to any violence. This property is our property, not the President's property. The property inside the President's house is our property. We need to protect it. We need to build a prosperous country. Let us think rationally as Sri Lankans.
ශ්‍රී ලාංකික හැටියට අපි බුද්ධිමත්ව හිතමු.
EVA Trusted Confidence now has a fresh new feel. Introducing EVA Heavy Flow Wings with an extended length of 280mm to provide extra protection on days you need it most. And for the first time in Sri Lanka, an antibacterial layer minimizing microbial growth, it controls odor and promotes freshness, while the extra length multiplies absorption. Available in both cotton feel wings and Drytex wings variants. EVA, leading with confidence.
Now, the Satyagraha by the Mahasangha, which began opposite the Bodhiya in Fort, was concluded today. Now, the Yativara Paramitava for the freedom of the motherland was launched by the Mahasangha Ratnaya as a fast unto death. Now, if you would like to know more about these stories and more, do visit our award-winning website www.newsfirst.lk. You can also follow us, that's Newsfirst.lk and Newsfirst Sri Lanka on Facebook and on YouTube. And that's the wrap of your news tonight. Thank you for watching.
Kidney diseases have plagued the villages of Madukare for many years. For 335 families that